Are you dreaming of starting a new life in Canada but feeling stuck with limited immigration options? Well, I've got game-changing news for you. Canada is introducing 4 new permanent residency pathways in 2025, and trust me, you don't want to miss this opportunity. These pathways could be your tickets to achieving PR status while meeting Canada's growing demands for caregivers, skilled workers, and Francophone communities. So grab your notepad because I'm breaking down everything you need to know to take full advantage of these new programs. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel today. If you are new here, I'm Evans and I help aspiring immigrants and newcomers navigate their way to building a better life in Canada. Today we are diving deep into Canada's 4 new permanent residency pathways that they are launching in 2025. With Canada reducing its overall immigration targets recently, the government is still prioritizing specific needs like addressing labor shortages, supporting Francophone communities, and strengthening rural areas. So all is not lost, even though they are still reducing the numbers and trying to cut down on their immigration targets. Here are a few things that at least I expect to talk about in today's video. First, and I'll try to explain one of the pathways, that's the enhanced caregiver pilot programs. And secondly, also dive into the rural community immigration pilots that they are planning to launch. Then we'll try to unpack the Francophone community immigration pilots. And finally, I'll try to share some pro tips on how you can plan ahead to maximize your chances of success under these new pathways that are being launched. So let's try to dive into it. First on the list, we've got the enhanced caregiver pilot programs. These are updated versions of the current home childcare provider and home support worker programs. And trust me, these updates are very huge. So here is what makes these programs revolutionary. Caregivers will now be able to secure permanent residency immediately upon arrival in Canada. So as soon as they land, they will be issued their permanent residency status. Also, they can work with reliable employers, offering both part-time or temporary care to semi-independent individuals, such as those recovering from injuries or even illnesses. The truth is, these pilots aim to simplify the PR process whilst meeting the growing demand for professional caregiving services across the country. Unlike the earlier versions, these new programs will allow caregivers, like I said, gain permanent residency immediately upon arrival. They will be able to work for organizations which will offer them temporary or even part-time care to semi-independent individuals or even people who are recovering from illnesses. And also it will allow people who are taking advantage of this particular pathway to transition seamlessly into caregiving roles with reliable employers. These changes not only address the caregiver job security but also provide straightforward access to PR, reducing the barrier that they previously faced, because in the past this was not the case. But now what they are doing is making it possible for you to even get caregiver jobs that are part-time, even temporary, and still be able to use it to secure the PR status. Well, what is the eligibility criteria? I know you'll be asking. 1. Candidates must achieve a minimum Canadian language benchmark, that's CIBC score of 4. Secondly, they should hold at least a Canadian high school diploma or its equivalent if they are coming from outside the country. Thirdly, they should have relevant caregiving experience. So before you can take advantage, you should at least have caregiving experience. And last but not the least, you should be able to secure full-time job offer in home care before you can even take advantage of this particular pathway. So you need to make sure that at least you are meeting these 4 criteria that are set out to position yourself so that in 2025 you'll be ready to take advantage of this particular pathway. Like I said, this program is a game changer for caregivers worldwide. Why, you may ask? Because Canada is facing a significant shortage of caregivers, especially as the population is aging. These programs simplify immigration process whilst providing more security for newcomers entering the caregiver roles. So if you have been considering a career in caregiving, this pathway should definitely be on your radar in 2025. Don't say I didn't tell you. Try to position yourself so that in 2025, as soon as it's launched, you'll be ready to take advantage of it. Next, we have the rural community immigration pilots. If you are open to settling in smaller towns or rural areas, this is perfect pathway for you. Here is how it works. This program connects rural communities directly with skilled foreign workers to help fill critical labor shortages. It's modeled after the successful rural and northern immigration pilots, that's the RINP, but focuses more on collaboration with local communities. The best part, local businesses will actively recruit workers, ensuring newcomers have steady employment. Secondly, communities will provide integration support to help immigrants settle successfully. So beyond local businesses recruiting for workers, they will also make sure that there is integration support to make sure that if you choose to settle in any of these rural communities, there's support for you to settle and land softly. So as much as they are cutting down on numbers, they still want to try and satisfy most of these rural communities with the shortages that they are at least experiencing to meet their labor needs. So if you are in the country, you might be able to take advantage of it because the focus, like we said, the coming years is focusing on people already in the country. So as much as they might be bringing people from outside to solve some of these issues, if you are in the country, you are positioned to be able to take advantage of some of these pathways. So if you are flexible and willing to settle outside big cities, because we know most people who come into Canada always want to settle in the big cities, the Torontos, the Vancouvers, the Montreals. If you are very flexible and willing to settle outside the big cities, the rural community immigration pilot offers not just PR, but a chance to be part of the growing tight-knit communities where skills are truly valued, because most of these smaller communities, they are really in need of labor. And if you choose those places, at least your skill sets will be valued and possibly well paid for. Truth is, this program was originally scheduled to be launched in late 2024, but it is now anticipated to be opened in 2025 because as I'm talking now, we are in December and it has not been launched yet. So the plan is hopefully they will be launching this particular program early part of December, and to be focusing on matching, like I said, rural towns with newcomers to help fill the labor shortages. So if it's something that you are interested in, you can prepare yourself and get yourself ready for 2025 so that as soon as it's open up, you'll be ready to take advantage of it. Number 3 is the Francophone Communities Immigration Pilots. Now let's talk about the Francophone Communities Immigration Pilots, a program with a cultural twist. This pathway aims to bring French-speaking immigrants into minority Francophone communities outside Quebec, because mostly in Quebec, everybody is speaking French. But Canada is a bilingual country, and they want to make sure that at least those other areas where it's not mainly French-speaking, there are people there at least be able to satisfy the need when it comes to dealing with people who are French-speaking. Why, you may ask? Because Canada's Francophone population is declining outside Quebec, because mostly outside Quebec, people are focused on speaking English, even though it's a bilingual country. And this program helps to preserve the linguistic and cultural diversity, because they'll be able to now use it to keep the country being bilingual. Because outside Quebec, they'll still need people to be able to meet the needs of French speakers. And here is what makes this particular pilot stand out. One, it's all about supporting economic development in Francophone communities. And secondly, it focuses on preserving French culture and language in Canada, which is something that's close to the heart of the Canadian government. And even though they are reducing numbers, one area that we saw increase is at least the Francophone programs that they plan to run when it comes to immigrants. You realize that the numbers that they plan to bring in for Francophone speakers was the every area that we saw growth in. All other areas, they were able to cut down on the numbers. And it's a key step towards Canada's commitment to bilingualism. So if you are French-speaking international student or worker looking for a unique community to settle in, this pathway could be your golden ticket to come to Canada. Plus, Francophone communities often offer tailored support systems, making the transition smoother for newcomers. So if you are somebody who is French speaking, you might want to position yourself in 2025 for this particular program, because it will help you to at least achieve your Canadian dream and get that PR that you've always wanted. Not many people can actually speak and write French and pass the French exam. So if you are able to at least prove that you are French speaking, then you will be one of a few who will be positioned for this particular golden ticket. Now, before we move forward, let's address some challenges. While these programs are incredibly promising, Canada has reduced its immigration targets for economic pilots from 14,750 to about 10,920 for 2025, which means there's going to be increased competition for any program that they come out with. So if you don't position yourself and get ready, you might not be able to take advantage of most of these programs that they will be coming up with. What I always say is, instead of getting ready, stay ready, so that anything that comes up, you are ready to take advantage, because nobody knows what they are going to come out with. They might surprise all of us with some programs that nobody expected. Like they did, like I said in the past, where out of the blue, we saw that they launched a TR to PR pathway and a lot of people were not ready. But only those who were ready were able to benefit from it. So here is my advice. First, start preparing now. Work on your language skill to meet the CLB requirements if you plan to take advantage of any of these particular pathways. And one thing that cuts across is any pathway that they come up with. You realize that if you are somebody who has a CLB score of at least 6 across all the language areas, you might be able to take advantage of it. So if your CLB score is lower than that, my advice is this might be the time to get ready and start preparing to take your language exams again and position yourself for that. As much as they might be looking for lower CLB score, if you can get your score higher, it helps you in a lot of ways and helps you to take advantage of a lot of programs. Secondly, research job opportunities in caregiving, rural communities, or even the Francophone areas. As much as you want to wait for people to tell you what to do, my advice is try as much as possible to do your own research. Try at least researching into most of these job opportunities when it comes to caregiving, and also explore most of these rural communities, because every single rural community will be interested in bringing people. So they might have their own small pilot that they plan to run. And even if there's no pilot, they might be interested in sponsoring people to come into their communities. So do your research when it comes to these things so that you know which areas to target and don't just follow the crowd. Thirdly, I would say build your networks by connecting with potential employers or even community organizations. Even if you are still in school, it might be advisable to start connecting with employers through most of these network events that your school might be organizing, and it might be nice to reach out to employers. Sometimes just to ask for coffee, to talk to most of these people who work in those companies to understand how you can take advantage of some of those opportunities that the companies have to offer. And if you plan to take advantage of a caregiving opportunity and you have experience, this might be time to reach out to some of these employees to let them know that this is something that you might be interested in. And if they have opportunities, you can start applying and build your connections so that as soon as you are done with school, you are positioned for that job offer. So when they open this particular pathway, you are ready to at least submit your application. Last but not the least, I would say keep an eye on updates from IRCC so that you stay ahead of the game, because every day there's something new that they are coming up with. And if you are able to at least get some of these updates, it will help you to stay ahead of the game instead of being the last to hear about it after everybody else has already taken advantage of it. With these pathways launching in 2025, you still have time to strengthen your application and plan your move strategically. Because we are still in 2024, and there are a couple of months left to enter 2025. So if you plan to take advantage of any of these pathways, there's still time for you to strengthen your application. If there's a need to take a language test, you have enough time to do it. If there is a need to maybe start chasing employers, you still have time for it. So my advice is start working on that so that you strengthen your case and make your case stronger when it comes to taking advantage of these pathways. These 4 new permanent residency pathways represent an exciting shift in the Canada immigration policies. Whether you are a caregiver, skilled worker, or a French speaker looking to build a life in Canada, these programs could be your opportunity to turn your dreams into reality. And here is the best part: you don't have to navigate this journey alone. If you are interested in maybe engaging with me to talk about life in Canada, like I always say, I always leave a link to my calendar in the description area. You can click on it for us to have a chit chat, so maybe you can understand some of the life in Canada. You can learn from maybe my experience, and we can engage each other and learn together. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with family and friends who might be interested in at least getting some insights from this video. Together, we'll make your Canadian dream a reality, and see you in the next video. Until then, cheers.